My bro, Ed Sheeran, came to town, so we had a chin wag in my very own club reparations. Check it out.
How does it feel to be a white man being the first person interviewed in a place called Club Reparations?
I'm not gonna touch that.
Good answer. How you feeling? I know you was dealing with COVID.
Yeah, I'm good, I'm good. I had flu from my daughter because she went to play school and caught it and came back. So me and my wife got that. So as soon as I got ill, I just started testing every day just in case, because you never know nowadays. And I was fine. And then I was doing these like long days where I would get up at like 5:30 and do back-to-back Zooms till like 9:30 p.m. And then I'd get up at 3 a.m. the next day to go to France. And I was just running low on energy. And then one day I caught it. But no one around me did. Mm-hmm. I remember like, it must have been because I was like really low on energy. But, yeah.
Did you have a mild case or was it intense? I heard you say you had a rough 3 days.
Well, I had flu as well. So I'd been hit with two things. So as I was getting over the flu, then suddenly like taste went, I started getting like sharp pains in my leg, my chest was all tight and stuff. And yeah, but man, I'm through the other side of it now. I do think it was the universe's way of telling me to slow down a little bit.
Slow down.
It was just happening like 3 days before. You spend 4 years making an album and 5 months doing all the promo leading up to this 1 week, and then like, you have to cancel everything.
But that's interesting though, because you always take breaks.
Yeah.
It's not like you go full steam ahead. So.
Well, no, but I take breaks from like being out and about and being on social media. I feel like not posting on Instagram means that you don't exist. So like, there's a singer in England called Lewis Capaldi at the moment who's like, he's in studio every single day, but he's just not posting about it. So people are just like, oh, he must be like having a break. But so I was still working every day, but I wasn't telling people about it.
Well, congrats on the new album, Equals, man. You know what I'm saying? We got to talk about the record's tides on the new album. The first bars are, I have grown up, I am a father now.
Yeah.
What's that mean to you?
Well, I wanted the first song on the album. Firstly, I just love structuring an album and having a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I wanted the first song on the album to sort of creep in volume-wise, and you go, oh, it isn't loud enough, you turn it up, and then it just slaps you with noise. And the first verse is just chaos, and it's just, this is my life, and it's all the things that have happened in the last 4 years. And then when it gets to the chorus, the calm sets in and everything drops out, and it's just time stops still when you're in my arms, and then it goes back into chaos. And that's pretty much how my life has been since becoming a father. Not that having a kid isn't chaotic, because she is mental, but having sort of living in the countryside and having this sort of family life that nothing really touches, and then you go into the city and you're back into the music industry and it is just chaotic every single day, and then you go back into the countryside and everything shuts down again. So the song was basically a reflection of that.
But then you say everything has changed, but I am the same.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Well, you'll know this, man, because you're a dad. I remember holding Lyra for the first time and being like, you know, you haven't slept. You've just seen the person you love most in the world, but in the most amount of pain, and yeah, it just took a while to switch. And I remember just feeling exactly the same for a long time and being like, when do I become a dad? Like, I know I am a dad, but when do I feel like a dad? And it just gradually sort of changes over time.
Do you feel love differently now? Because they always say you don't really know what love is until you have children.
It's definitely love, but I think it's worry that you feel more. I worry. Like I say in the song, like, I've never been afraid of death. I never, like, ever. I've just been like, okay, whatever happens, happens. If I die tomorrow, I've had a good life. But I'm terrified of it now, not for me dying, but the fact that Lyra would grow up without a parent. There's a song on the album called Leave Your Life that came about. My friend had passed away and his funeral had happened, and I spoke to his daughter, and she said, look, he said at the end of every single conversation, I love you. So the last thing he ever said to me was, I love you.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck. So I started doing it with my parents, I started doing it with Cherry, and then I suddenly realized my daughter's 6 months old. She doesn't fucking know. So the song was basically me trying to create physical evidence that, you know, if something happened tomorrow, she would know at 18 years old, there's this song that exists and that I did, you know?
You thinking about death too much nowadays, Ed. You said you had some same dream every night, a bullet through my brain the moment that I close my eyes. Like,
I think I've never, but the thing is, I've never really thought about death that much because I've never really had anyone die around me. I've had my grandparents pass away, but when you're young, everyone's grandparents die. So that's just part of life, and you just go, okay, my grandparents will die one day. But honestly, like when Michael died in March, it really hit home how final life can be. And
Absolutely.
I've never ever, and this is why the album's called Equals, and there's butterflies, and I feel like it's the end of a question and the start of an answer, and it's all about life and all about death and all about the cycle. And you're right, I am focused on death now because I've had new life entered into my life, and then seen a close friend of mine. I didn't even get to say goodbye. He just went, and that was it. I can't ever say anything to him again. And you realise how fragile life is, but also how important life is when you have a child. And I know it's like I think this will probably be the one album where I focus on it, because it's the first time I'd actually properly been through grief, or the first time that I'd brought new life into the world. But it's definitely the first time I've ever had this much of a view of it. You know, I see grief happen around me all the time, and I can connect with it, but not on the same level as when it actually happens to you. And actually, the gravity of it's so fucking huge, and it just shifts your whole perception of what life is.
Are you still having those dreams? The bullet through the brain
Yeah, I
dreams?
started
And what
having
causes that? Like, where the bullet coming from?
I think like sort of depression runs in genes, and
Absolutely.
I felt it. I've seen other people in my family feel. I've seen it's just a gene that runs through our family, and I didn't really want to write that, or I didn't want to sing that line, because I didn't want members of my family to see that and be like, oh my God, like we need to sort of have an intervention there.
You know, I'm a big therapy proponent. I go to therapy every week because of those generational curses that run through families. You ever did any therapy or thought about it?
No. I honestly think writing songs is my therapy. I write songs every single day, and I can't not write songs. I'm not saying I would never go to therapy, but I've never needed to up until this point, because I can write lines like that and it makes sense when I put it down. And I feel like sometimes if I have a really shit day and I feel really down, and I pick up a guitar and I write a song, and then at the end of it I go, right, well, out of that situation I've got this, and this is something good, and this is something that's going to make my life better.
All right, let's woosah. Take a sip of coffee, man. You know what I mean?
This is, mate, you've got me to go deeper than fucking any other interview in the first 10 minutes, Jesus.
You know, the deepness of your lyrics, right? Do you think the deepness of your lyrics sometimes gets lost because people label you a pop artist and the sound is popish?
Yeah, I like, and I know if I'd have produced this album, if I'd have gone in with Rick Rubin again and stripped it all back and made it like, people listen to it differently. They just do. People already made up their mind on what the album was before it came out. Like, whenever I release an album, it feels like the insult Olympics of like music critics who just like they're like, oh my God, who can do the best one? And then they just go for it. But yeah, man, people make their mind up, but like Divide got savaged. Divide ended up selling 25 million copies. Multiply got savaged. Multiply ended up selling 20 million copies. Plus got savaged. Mate, collaborations is the most savage thing. And I promise you, your plaque is coming. I chased up. Collaborations is the most savage piece of work that I've put out, and I think it's because it wasn't in a genre that made sense for me. I was just trying out things, but that ended up selling 10 million. So people do like them. They just like, I'm not a cool act, and it's very, very easy to shit on me because I'm synonymous with uncool music and music that is, but mate, I promise you, all I need to do on a record is just switch the production to cool production, and the songs are still there, and you just switch it to like, I'll go in and make a, I don't want to name names, but you could just choose a really, really cool left of center indie producer, go in, record Overpass Graffiti with some like weird samples and weird sound. I released a song called Afterglow that was going to be on this record, that all of my friends that love that sort of music, that love James Blake, that love Bon Iver, they're like, oh my God, why can't you do this? This is the music we want to hear from you. But Afterglow could easily be produced like this stuff on the album and just fit in, and everyone would think it was shit. So sometimes songs are in the production. Mate, sometimes songs are in the fucking track listing. I mean, like when Eminem put out Revival, I mean, I know you weren't a fan of that record, but I actually quite liked that album. But people had sort of made their mind up about it based on the features. So they saw the features list and went, oh, this isn't going to be good. They didn't even listen to it, which is why now he just drops albums out of the blue. And I think the next project I do will be dropped out of the blue. It's something I chatted to Taylor about, because she's always she does the rollout, and you have the first single and the second single, and then the album comes. But I put out Bad Habits, and people go, oh, it's going to be this kind of album. You put out Shivers, and then a bit more, they go, it's going to be this kind of album. But when you give people no opportunity to make their mind up, and no opportunities for anyone else to shift their perception, you know, because sometimes if you see a Pitchfork article that shits on something, you've kind of in your head already decided.
Absolutely.
Like I've also with the Drake record, I feel like I had to listen to that without listening to any noise around it, because people love to post reviews 3 minutes after and they go, oh, this. And I had to like actually go in 2-3 weeks, listen to the songs, work out whether I actually liked it, and I did. But had I listened to other people, you walk into a situation without with someone else kind of nudging you into another opinion. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's why I think what Beyonce did when she dropped her surprise album.
Yeah.
It was so genius, because the only thing you could critique was the music. You couldn't critique anything else but the music. Lemonade was a great album, but people critiqued the relationship. And, you know, Jay caught all the flack before people actually
So you mean
took
the
in the music.
Beyonce, the self-titled album?
Yeah, the self-titled one. Because can you really believe a critic if they've already got their mind made up about you?
My albums they're not listen once kind of record. I have so many songs on this. Like I played you Tides before, and you messaged me yesterday, and you were like, now I'm like, you've got the lyrics, and you truly hear it, and you can read into it, and maybe in like a year's time there'll be another song that you like draw into more. But I find that with the more you play something, the more you understand it. And I will never ever listen to a record just once. I'll listen to it many times. I remember when Yeezus came out, and really not understanding that.
I still hate it.
I fucking love it. I really like it. But I remember when it came out, being like...
Didn't like it.
Yeah. No, but I had that reaction when it came out, but the more and more I played it, and in hindsight, it's not Dark Twisted Fantasy, but it is still a great record.
I'm gonna go back to it. First times, you say the simplest things in life can make a man. What would have been some of those simple things for you?
Well, the first line of the song, I wanted to go like pure grandiose, and be like, because everyone thinks that to make it, like I get so many people confused. I haven't got awards in my house. I have like, you know, I have the pub, and that's where I would put the Brit Awards and the Grammys and the NRJs and all the big awards are in the pub, and I don't have awards in my house apart from one award, which is a #1 award for Bad Habits. And it's because when Bad Habits came out, the first 3 days it looked like it was a complete bomb. And then throughout the week, it built and built and built and went to #1. And I remember when it went to #1, it was the first time I was like, I can't take anything for granted. This actually means the world to me. The fact that I thought that the run was over and whatever. So I have this award in my house to remind myself to never take anything for granted. So my point is, everyone puts lots of importance on the achievements and the things that you've done. And the biggest thing I had ever done was play Wembley Stadium. And as an Englishman, that's the home of England football. That's England's national stadium. It's the biggest stadium in I think in Europe. And when you get to play there, everyone will be like, "You're done. You've made it." And I remember playing it and walking off stage and being like, "It was all right. It was a gig." Like but I didn't feel anything. And then I went backstage, and my wife was there, and she opened up 2 beers and she gave me a beer, and we just sat and chatted. And I started getting butterflies, and I was like, why didn't I get butterflies when I was on stage at Wembley? That's so weird. I've just done this fucking massive thing, and now I'm doing such a small, simple thing that is actually making me feel everything. And it's the same thing I said, buzzing seeing my daughter walk, or hearing her say pasta. You know, like those are the simple things that make a man. And the song is about all the little first times that are insignificant when they happened. Going out for my first date with Cherry in Brooklyn, and drinking a glass of red wine on a stoop, and that was our first date and our first red wine and the first night that we kissed, and it was just, but all those things now now I'm married to her and we've got a kid, are gargantuan. They're the things that created it, but at the time they're so insignificant. And
Surviving the first fight, you said.
yeah, precisely. Knowing that you have the argument, and what I say, and we made it out alive, and then you get to the other side of it, and you're like, oh, I still like you, and that, you know, we have loads of arguments now, and we know we're going to make up because we've made up all of these ones. So why wouldn't we make up this one? You know, and it strengthens your bond. But
that's like that with most relationships, though, right?
Yeah.
Like if you and a person have an argument or y'all don't see eye to eye, you say things to each other, but then after that you're like, but you know, I really do love this person.
And I think that the honesty, because I think if I had an argument with, if I had a problem with someone and then I didn't have an argument with them, it would mean that I actually didn't really want the friendship anyway, and not the respect there. But the actual act of entering into a conflict, being honest, and then coming out the other side of it makes you stronger. That's not going to be ending anything. If we had a problem and you were honest with me, that's you showing your respect for me, not your distaste for me. If you wanted to show distaste for me, you would just stop speaking to me, and then that would be that, you know?
Do you remember when the first fight was over?
Yes. Oh man, and we can't bring it up. We can't. Well, me and her can't bring it up. We used to steal Moscow Mule cups. You know, like the copper cups.
As rich as you are, you were stealing goddamn Moscow Mule cups.
Can I say? And it was mostly from the Barry in New York, and I would always say to them, "Can I pay for them?" So at the end of the night, I would pay, but we would take them from the bar. The Barry will know. I definitely have bought them from there before. But anyway, we were in Florence. And we were staying at this lovely hotel. We were traveling, and we'd been out to a bar, and we'd done that. And in my pub, actually, there's a whole row of these copper cups because they were all our first dates, and we got the dates and whatever engraved on them. And we got back to the hotel, and pulled one copper cup out the bag, and I was like, "Well, that's the one I brought." And she was like, "No, that's the one I brought." And that's where it started. Who's telling the truth? You don't believe me. You don't. And then I remember getting the copper cup. We were on this kind of mountain in Florence, and just fucking hoofing it over the mountain and being like, "Now there's no argument."
Y'all fought over stolen Moscow Mule cups?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Ed.
That was our first argument, though. Our first one, and we made it out alive. But if you bring it up to Cherry, it all starts up again.
Well, who was wrong? When you look back in hindsight, who was actually wrong in that situation?
Cherry.
Okay, take a deep breath. I'm gonna ask you something. Was it hard writing Visiting Hours?
Yes. Yeah, I cried writing Visiting Hours. I cried the first time I sung Visiting Hours. I sung Visiting Hours at Michael's memorial. That was the first time I sung it. But I don't cry singing it anymore, and I don't cry listening to it anymore because it belongs to so many other people now. It came out and essentially was this song that was so personal. Like as you know, with grief is such a solitary thing that you shut yourself off from the world and everyone. You go, just fuck off, let me just grieve in peace. And that's where the song was sort of finished. And then when I'm coming out of that, I've got this song that's like it's quite personal to me, but I know I have to release it. And I released it on around Michael's birthday, and sort of made a thing around it. But I got approval from his family and played it to his wife and his daughter and his son and blah, blah, blah. And then it came out. And then the YouTube comments were, and you go on any YouTube comments on any song, it's always just fire emojis or like little jokes or whatever. But this is like a community of pain. And it's all these comments of all these stories of people's solitude and people's grief. And I was reading these and I was like, this is why you release a song like this. This is why, and I met a guy in London whose mum had passed away, and he finds it difficult to speak to his dad now because there's just something there now. The mum's gone, and he said, I met him out and about, and he said, I sent that song to my dad, and it said everything I needed to say, and you know, like he didn't even need to reply. He just knew.
Wow.
And the songs like that are powerful. And now, I as I said, I can stand on stage and sing that song, and it's not my song. It's that bloke's song. It's this woman's song. It's this guy's song. It's this family's song. It's like it belongs to them now. So, I think music is powerful like that it can be used in to have conversation with people without having conversation with people. Like even like fun songs, you can just send a fun song to a friend and be like, this song made me feel, this song made me think of you. But yeah, it's powerful, which is why I think love songs, you know, I've made my career out of love songs, and they're my bread and butter, and I sometimes write lyrics that I'm quite embarrassed about because they're so cheesy, or you know, you say like, I'll love you forever." But those
That's
songs,
not cheesy. Love isn't cheesy.
But those songs, some people find it hard to express their feelings, and they can put on a song and be like, "He's saying what I want to say to you," and that is, you know, the communication of it. And yeah, I think Visiting Hours is an important song. It was difficult to write, but I'm really happy that I did, and I'm really happy it's on the record.
So when you write records like Joker and the Queen, do you say to yourself, "This is gonna slap at weddings for years"?
No, because that song didn't take that long to write, and when songs don't take a long time to write, I sometimes feel that that's because they're bad, not because it's like magic in a bottle. I'm like, not that much effort went into this, therefore I don't know if it's any good. It's only now that the song's been out and about and people really like it that, yeah, I'm like, I remember playing it to you and you were like, "That's gonna slap at
That's
weddings."
gonna be the wedding record.
Yeah, but man, you never know. You never know. I mean, I sort of knew that Perfect would be a wedding record, but I didn't know that Thinking Out Loud would be at all.
You also say when you proposed to Cherry, she said, "Are you joking?"
Yeah.
Did you think she was gonna say no?
Yeah, mate. Her parents aren't. Well, her parents are married now, but they only got married because we got married. But her parents dated for 30 years before getting married, so she hasn't come from a household of marriage. So she doesn't see it as an important thing. I come from, you know, a mildly religious family where it's everyone around me is married, and that's just how it is. So she kind of knew that it would be on the cards eventually, I guess. But I think she thought it would happen a lot later on than it did. But I actually bought the ring maybe like 6 months after we started dating, and I just had it in my bag. And I was going to propose to her after Glastonbury. I invited a Glastonbury Festival in England. I invited all of my family and all of her family, and I had the ring, and I was like, after the show, it's like the big moment, and then blah, blah, blah. And then when I kind of got into the after party, I was like, no, this ain't right. I don't want to fucking do it in front of 40 people after a gig. Like, this feels weird. So I just held on to the ring after that, just waiting for a moment. And then I sort of knew when the moment was going to come. It was after Christmas. We were in Italy. So I got the date engraved that I was going to do it. And then the day came, and I built a pergola at the end of the garden to do it at. Watch the sunset, have a bit of wine, and then it just started raining. It was just pissing it down with rain, and I was there being like, fuck, I've engraved the date on this ring. I either do it today or like we get engaged tomorrow and it's the wrong date. So it got to about 9 p.m. and I kept going, "Do you want to go for a walk?" She'd be like, "No, it's fucking pissing it down." So got to the end of the day, we'd made some dinner, opened a bottle of wine, and I just got down on one knee and I was like, "Sorry, I've been a bit of a dick today," because I'd been like, "Why don't you want to go for a walk? Let's fucking go for a walk."
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been a bit of a dick today, but will you marry me? She just kind of looked at me like this, like, "You fucking joking?" And then there was just a long silence. I was like, I mean, yes or no? And then I said, "Please." Which is why in the song, she said, "Darling, you joking?" And I just said, "Please." And then there was another long pause, and she was like, "Yeah, of course." And then it was fine. But those are moments, and you'll know this in your career, that often you'll be like, "Hey, can I do this?" And someone will be like, "Yeah." Mm-hmm. "Hey, can I get into this sports game?" "Yeah." "Hey, can I go to this club?" "Yeah." "Can I get a reservation for this restaurant?" "Yeah." But in those situations, and this is the same with birth, with Lyra, you are out of. You can't do anything. You can't. It's not down to you. It's down to fate. It's down to God.
That's
It's
right.
down to whatever. And in that situation, I get down on one knee and I say, "Will you marry me?" And you would think that it would just be like, "Yeah." But that was where it made it human, and it was like, fuck, like this actually might go a bit left, and I've got to accept that it goes left. Thankfully, it didn't.
After listening to this album, man, I could see you just walking away and retiring at an early age.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't think so?
No, I can. Do you know what I think retirement is for any artist? It's not quitting, because you can't quit, because you love it. You do this for a reason. It is retiring from giving a fuck. You basically retire from, "Oh, are people going to like this?" Or you retire from, "This has to go #1." Or you retire from, "I have to sell these tickets." Or you retire from, "I'm going on tour." So you enter into a phase of life where you're just like, "Do I want to release this song? No. But I enjoyed writing it. Do I want to go on tour? No, but I want to play this show. I want to go and sell out fucking Royal Albert Hall for one day. And I've made these 5 tunes with this random person. I'm just gonna put them out. That for me is what retirement is. It's getting off the hamster wheel and just doing whatever the fuck you want. I think there are like Jay-Z. I think is in that phase now. He releases music when he wants to. He tours how he wants to. It's not like it has to be a cycle where. Do you remember he used to drop every single summer, you know,
right.
and now he just every now and then.
It's rare air though. It's like Jay, who else?
Beyonce, I think. As well.
Beyonce. I think somebody like Chappelle
Yeah.
and Elton John probably. But they're icons. Like they're established already.
Yeah. So, mate, I've done this for a decade now. If I have like another 15 years, I think that's where you enter into that. I think.
I know you and Elton John cool. We had Young Thug on, and Young Thug was saying how Elton John, when he first met Elton John told him to free Gucci Mane. Do you believe that?
Yes. Yeah. Elton is, mate. No, mate. The first time I spoke to Elton, I'd done a collaborations project with UK rappers, and there was a rapper called Devlin who he's arguably one of the best rappers that England's had, and the whole scene knows about Devlin. But it's kind of you wouldn't expect Elton John to, you know? And he rang me up and he was like, oh my God, I loved Devlin's album. Like, I'm so happy you got to, and that,
wow.
as soon as he said that, I was like, man, Elton knows his stuff. And when you go to Elton's house, he has a room of releases, right? And every single week, and take me down if I'm lying here, but he basically gets every release from he'll be getting Summer Walker's release this week, and he'll listen to it. Next week he'll be getting the Silk Sonic and the Taylor and he gets everything and he listens to it, everything. So it's because his knowledge of music. He told me about Kid Laroi 3 years ago when Kid Laroi was like 15 or whatever. He was like, watch this guy. He's going to be big. So he is plugged in to everything. And when Young Thug says something like that, I know people will be like, did Elton John really say that? But I know he did. Like he's probably listened to the 100 Gucci Mane mixtapes that were released from. I swear to God, he probably has.
I saw Rod Wave say y'all connected too. Any plans to collaborate with him?
I would love to. I don't want it to be forced, because I feel like his music is so much heart that it has to come from heart. But yeah, I would love to. I think he's great, and I'm so happy you kind of put me on to him, because on that day, like I'd heard bits and pieces, but on that day I downloaded everything and really went deep dive. My favorite song is the Through the Wire one. There's so much pain caught up deep inside, hard to control it. But you feel with him, you feel everything that he says, and I feel like if we're going to do a song, I need to be singing something that's believable too. I can't be on a song with someone as emotive as him and not have the same amount of emotion.
Yeah, I need that to happen. My last question, man, why math all the time? It was divide, it's been multiply, it's been why it's equal now. Why math?
I liked Coldplay as a kid, and every time Coldplay released an album, everything around the album was centered in X and Y. They were all wearing the same sort of thing. It was the same kind of color palette. The music sort of matched into it. The tour looked a certain way, and then it went into Viva La Vida, and they changed their way. And it just, each era was like a thing where you look back now, and you just, from the way that Chris Martin dresses, you know which album it is. So I was always like, I'm not really like a clothes guy, but I was like, I want each album to be a color and a symbol. So you would get to a point where I could get a billboard in Times Square, and it can be red with an equal sign, and people go, oh, Ed's got a new album coming out. And I did my 5 EPs, but I basically had like a 15 record plan when no one wanted to sign me, because I had all these songs. And I was like, right, no one's going to give me a record deal, so I'm going to go independent. I'm going to make a band EP, I'm going to make an electronic EP, I'm going to make a acoustic singer-songwriter EP, I'm going to make a live EP, and then I'm going to do a collaborations project. And by the end of that, I'm going to have built up a fan base. And I released all 5 of them, and I did. My fan base was gone. And then I was like, right, 5 more. I'm going to do Plus, which is the addition onto all of that. So it's taking all of those songs and taking the best ones and adding some more, and then having Plus. Multiply is going to make it bigger, take it worldwide, which it did. Divide was going to be a double album with R&B stuff like Shape of You, and then acoustic song stuff like Perfect. There was going to be an acoustic one, and then Equals was going to be every album which is kind of what it is, all the sounds of every single album in one, and then that would be the end of the equation. But with the acoustic one that I'd made, I was sort of gearing up to release it, and I'd made it in lockdown, and it's quite a slow, sultry record. And then lockdown was ending, the world was opening up. In England, there was this huge football competition called the Euros. That was happening, pubs were opening. And I had this like sad acoustic record. I was like, I don't want to put this out now. I want to put out Bad Habits. I've got like a song that's going to be a summer tune. So that's why I shifted both the records. But I've got 5 more symbols after that aren't maths. But it's more just knowing what to do next. It's knowing what your focus is. You know, like I'm sure. I remember sitting with an A&R before I signed in the States, and I told him that plan, and he said to me, 10 years ago I would have called you crazy and being like, why are you doing that? But he said, but I had someone sit in front of me and say, these are the albums that I'm going to do. I'm going to do this concept: college dropout, late registration, graduation, and good ass job. And these are the subject matters that I'm going to go through the album.
Wow.
And then you see Kanye execute all of them. But I know he didn't do good ass job, but you see Kanye execute all of them, and he knew what the next one. And I'm sure halfway through that he was like, right, let me do one where I don't rap, and he does 808 and 8s and heartbreaks. And I'm sure Yeezus was on the list of let me make something that's a bit different. But it's just knowing what to do next. Like I know what the next record is, and I know what the next record is, and I know what the next record is. So when this album's finished, there's no void where I'm like, fuck, what do I do? Because it's always, right, this is the next thing I'm doing. And yeah, I'm sure when that ends, I'll be confused, but I'm sure when it ends, hopefully I'm in the what you're saying about the legends and the rarefied atmosphere where you cease giving a fuck and you just do whatever.
So what's success look like to Ed after this?
Success, I honestly feel like success is every day waking up and doing what I love for a living. It isn't, I've never been numbers, I've never been financially orientated, so it's not about how much money, because you would know this as well. You just don't need things. My family's taken care of. I have a place to live. I feel like I'm set up. Like I don't have to tour. I like touring. I don't have to release albums. I like releasing albums. And when I was younger, I played every day for free anyway. So I would go and play 3 shows a night for no money because I enjoyed it. It was only when I started making a living from it that's where I felt successful. When I started getting paid £20 for a show or £50 for a show, suddenly your get a real job disappears and you have a real job. So I think that's success. Every single day waking up, coming here, man. Like we get paid to just talk about music.
I know. I'm sitting there talking to my friend about music on my TV show.
I say this about footballers that retire, right, and then they start being pundits. And I watch it, and I'm like, that's the best job in the world. Because if they weren't on TV, they'd be at home with their footballer friends talking about the game anyway. And now they just get to do it and get paid for it. So that, for me, success is doing what you love for a living every single day, I think.
My guy, always a pleasure. Good to see you, brother.